Hi, my name is Rosie Braun, and I would like to tell you about the goodness of God. First of all, He is wonderful. He is with me. He goes before me. He's behind me. He's at my right, on the left, above me, and below me. And I have never felt as safe right now as I have in my whole life. I am at a place where the page is turning in my life and new and exciting things are going to be happening. But the wonder of it all to me is that as in my mind's eye I see the page turning, for the first time in my life I see the Lord on the empty page that I'm turning to. He has made His presence known to me through His Word, because every time I open the Word, He allows a little word to jump out at me and assure me that that word is for me. I never knew that before, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I had just been studying about one of the queens in Hawaii for probably about a year, and I kept feeling the Lord telling me, look into this particular queen. Her name was Lili'u Okalani. And then He got very specific and said she was a very prolific writer, songs and stories and things. And it was like the instruction was, look at her songs, read them, read her songs. I need specific directions a lot. And so I started looking at her songs, and one of my favorite songs was called The Queen's Prayer. And I really didn't know it in English. I only knew it in Hawaiian, which is kind of a handicap when I don't speak the language. Anyway, I was able to obtain the translation for the Hawaiian that I have been singing for years. And in the English words, it was Rosie interpretation, okay? Doesn't matter what it looks like, I am with you. I am always with you. And that's all that this song said. And there are a lot of things that people have thought were the truth about what happened years ago in Hawaii, and I'm in the process of studying what happened. But one of the most important things that I learned in this preliminary part of my studying is that there was a young Hawaiian man, and his name was Obukahia. And to give you the highlights of it, he was 10 years old when he left Hawaii. And the captain aboard a whaling ship took him on as his a busboy that works on the ship. It took 2 years to get from Hawaii to Connecticut, where the captain took him under his wing, continued to keep him under his wing, and encouraged him to learn things, because he noticed during that 2 years that this young boy was extremely smart. The kind where you only had to teach him once and they got it. And he wanted to be able to read, because he saw the men on the ship reading, and he heard them speaking in the language. And now when he went on the ship, he only spoke Hawaiian. They encouraged him to write down the sounds of the Hawaiian, so that by the time he got to Connecticut, he had books already translating Hawaiian into English. But during that 2 years that he was en route to Connecticut, these were Christian men on this ship. And he was learning about this God who loves. And of course, he didn't know anything like that because he was a heathen. When he got to Connecticut, shortly thereafter, he continued to learn more about God. He was converted. And the cry that God put in his heart, when he left Hawaii, he was 10. So 2 years to get to Connecticut. 10 or 12, they're not sure. Anyway, 2 years to get to Connecticut, and it was a couple of years later that he was converted. But the cry that God put in his heart was, still in broken English, I go home. I go home. I go home. I take God home, that my people will learn about God. So there are a lot of stories that have been passed on through the years, and they were not good stories. But the truth is now coming out. And because of his conversion and this deep desire to return to Hawaii so that his people would learn about Jesus, the church that was in Connecticut that he was attending established a missionary outreach thing, and they were going to go to Hawaii as one of their first mission places. Well, Obukahia got sick and he died. But his love for them, his love for his people, but mostly his love for Jesus, inspired the people in that church. He sent forth 7 missionaries. Now, whalers had been coming to Hawaii 40 years before the missionaries came, and they did a lot of havoc with the people. And by the time the missionaries got to Hawaii, 80% of the Hawaiian people had different diseases and stuff. But the missionaries had a job to do. They were going to teach the people. And the Hawaiian people, they couldn't understand that when the missionaries told them, no, we came to live with you, to learn of your ways, to help you. And this was an enormous thing. By the time they got to Hawaii, King Kamehameha had united the islands. He had died. The kapus, those were like the taboos of the time, were all gone. The United Islands were able to accept the missionaries as they came in. And the first sermon that was ever preached on the island of Oahu was a place called, it was a spring kind of in the middle of Honolulu, and it was owned by one of the royalty, and her name was Hau. So the name of the place became Kauai Hau, and there now is a church on that piece of property. That is where really Christianity began. It is in its 5th renovation, and the missionary that went to Oahu, Bingham, was also an architect, and he designed the church that now stands there in 16,000 one-ton coral bricks. The acoustics are outstanding, so that when they sing or play music, it's right on perfect. But when they were done, let me go back 1 second. They were teaching them to write their language because Obukahia had done that. Put it in a little booklet that he had. So the first thing that was ever printed in Hawaiian in Hawaii were the words Aloha Keakua, and it means God is love. When they finished translating the entire Bible from English to Hawaiian, They told the people, our job here is done. You now know the word. You are Christians. And they left. So all of the stuff that happened after the missionaries left, that was not a result of the missionaries. And that, to me, is one of the most important things that I learned. Because God had a purpose for Obukahia, even though he never got back home to Hawaii. The missionaries came, taught the people so that they can love Jesus. All of the ali'i, that's the Hawaiian word for kings or royalty people, they were taught from the very beginning of their schooling. Their text was the Bible, and that's what they learned. So when Queen Liliuokalani became queen because of the death of King Kamehameha III, there was an uprising within the people. The Hawaiian people who had been converted did not want annexation, but the businessmen who were there 40 years prior to the missionaries, they did. And so a bunch of stuff happened. But I think for me the most important thing was that when Hawaii embraced Christianity, it was because God embraced the Hawaiian first. And to me that was a very, very precious thing. That my Hawaiian family is one of the 20% that was left on one of the islands. And this new page is that I get to go back. I'm sending him. The Lord is sending me to go back. That I can tell people about my Jesus and how wonderful he is. That's just one of the miracles that God has done in my life. And so to me, I say to you, aloha, kia kua, ame kia aloha. God is love, and I give you my